Hello, a very quick short day quite really, an additional one this week. I want to put my professional opinion to a debate I am hearing. First of all, I've added professional there really because those of you know me know that teaching people to become driving instructors, teaching people to teach people, etc., really is my specialist chosen subject. I actually wrote a master's degree in it and actually did there. I've trained hundreds, helped thousands, etc. I've set up over 15 driving schools, all of which I still support and help, etc., across the country, and others that I help, etc. Apart from which, I also have my own successful driving school, covering from Cornwall to Portsmouth, qualified classroom teacher, etc. Yeah, I've set up DTE-Elite Supreme School, etc. And for the past 4 years, have been completing and actively looking at marketing courses. Again, what I'm saying is like, you know, I've got the T-shirt, I've been there, I've done that, so I know where I'm coming from. There's many people who are putting comments on who, some of which have never even worked as driving instructors, never even worked for driving schools, have little experience of any marketing or anything to do with training or teaching in any way, and they're putting up opinions and things on the views, etc. So a lot of people continually knock the trainee license because of it's due to unprofessionalism really. They cannot compete in the market, they struggle with work, and their whole idea is to stop new trainees coming in. I've often heard people say that they should close the register and stop new driving instructors. I often ask the question, when do you think that would be? Because I would imagine for most people it would have been immediately they got their own badge. Basically, that's the way of marketing. It'd be lovely, wouldn't it, if every restaurant and every hairdressers in every town could just say, right, we've set up now, let's ban any future business, any competition in our town. But of course, people don't work like that. Competition doesn't work like that. So let's cut to the chase, really. Let's see what this is about, or what is my opinion on it. Well, once upon a time, not so long ago, part 3 consisted of a role-play test called a preset test, really. You conducted 2 preset tests, of which you selected, or the examiner selected, from 10 preset tests. And you would have to do 2 lessons. Now, those 2 lessons were rehearsed, role-played, that's all you did. You learnt a briefing, you learnt the faults, etc., and you learnt how to deliver those lessons. And, 40 hours of training, just purely teaching those lessons. And that's how it went. Now, if you were that way inclined, if you were able to memorize things quite well and you're able to get your head around it, I would have said you could actually pass part 3 quite easily, and certainly without a trainee license. I myself took part 3. I didn't do a trainee license, etc., and for a few years of my life would say to me it was wrong and wouldn't recommend it. But of course, as I got into training, as I got more qualified, as I understood the basic principles of teaching, I realized that we're not an all one-size-fit-all person, and we need different methods, etc. So I did change my views. But that's what the test was. It was very simple. The examiner would role play the learner, 2 learners, etc. And that's what it was. But now, of course, the test involves you bringing along a real pupil. Now, I know the DVSA do say you could bring a family member or a friend, etc., but I strongly do not recommend that. In nearly all the situations I've seen that, it's gone badly. One of my most qualified, highest qualified instructor trainers, she took along her husband for a standards check or audit test, and it just went wrong. He wouldn't listen, he wouldn't support her, he would argue, and it caused big problems. I know this before. You have the wrong relationship very often trying to teach people to drive. I taught my son to drive reasonably successfully without any problems whatsoever. My daughter just don't go with it. I couldn't teach her. It was just wrong in the car and it just wasn't working. So I think you do not need the additional challenges of trying to teach somebody you know. It may seem like a good idea, but it doesn't work, etc. So now you're going to take along a learner, and ideally you want a learner that you've developed the right relationship with. I wouldn't say you're cherry picking a learner, but there were certainly some learners I would take and some learners I wouldn't. You don't want your best learner, and you don't want your worst learner. So again, it's great to be able to have a variety of learners. Also, when you get your test, when it comes, it's like, you don't know when it's going to be. It might be Monday. So ideally, you look at Monday and think, well, which learner can actually do that test for me? If you're restricted to just one day a week, and you've got learners that can do one day a week, and your test comes up on Monday, and let's say you only work Wednesdays, big problems, because then you've got to find a learner who can do that test, and then you may be stuck with the learner who is or could be the problem. And you know you're going to be sitting there at that test centre hoping that learner isn't going to be a problem. So there. I say today's test requires quite a lot more. You need to be able to structure and be able to bring, meet the people's goals and structure lessons that are based on the pupils' experience and abilities. If the lessons needs changing, why am I saying if? When the lesson needs changing, because it will. Every single check test, every single part 3 test, etc. It affects your learner as well, and your learner will go to pieces a bit, and you will need to change the lesson. So when it needs to change lesson, you may need to change the route. You'll need to know which route to go down, where to turn. All of a sudden, you were going up James Street, etc., but the learner's messed up on, say, a meeting traffic. Oh, we now need to let's do a quick left here, and right here, and we can do some more meeting traffic over here. And that's very much thinking on your feet, thinking on a trot. And you'll need to change the route, etc. You need to be aware of the pupil's surroundings, and it's something you can't read in the book. It's something you can't do on videos. It's something which you learn to be able to do, because first of all, you're going to be out of your comfort range when you first start. When you first sit there, it's quite worrying. You're worried about the traffic and everything that's going on, and almost the pupil's surroundings starts to get a bit difficult. So as you grow as an instructor, as you grow, you learn to relax, you learn to be more aware of the surrounding. And this is something your trainer will help you with and teach you with that. You're going to get pupils for years or trainees for years complained that they couldn't get their head around role play. It was watching an instructor drive perfectly well and then suddenly pretend to be a learner who couldn't do junctions, just couldn't get a head around it. So we've now got this wonderful situation where we can actually develop it. Also, many people coming to become a driving instructor have great skills already. They have great skills as teachers, and they can already do most of the job. Nowadays, a trainer can just jump in the back, look at what you're doing, and just fix what is broken. I'm a great fan of fixing what is broken. If you ever do any training with me in car, I will say to you, I want you to do exactly as you would normally, because I only want to fix the faults. Many people try to put on a show and try to do things differently because an examiner or I or their trainers in the back, and it's being able to develop that properly. You've got to develop real deep questioning techniques with your learner to encourage them to analyse problems and for them to discover self-awareness and self-evaluation as well. And you're going to be using opportunities to clarify learning outcomes. And I think this only really comes with really good experience of actually being in the car with learners. My firm belief is the Part 3 test is now much easier because while some of this video may sound a bit scary, it's actually a lot of it comes naturally to you to be able to develop the lesson. Your trainers in the first few sessions will be giving you some lesson plan structures and how you would structure. They'll be giving you things like the GROW model and that, and you'll just be piecing it together. But you actually be working. It's much easier than to fix the old rote training that we used to have before. As I say, many trainees already have the skill sets to actually do much of this. So as I said, you may imagine I do wholeheartedly support the trainee license, providing, of course, the training is good. There are unfortunately schools and trainers out there who are still trying to do mainly role-play based training, and they're still trying to teach preset tests. It wasn't that long ago I had this discussion with the instructor who was saying, yeah, but you still need to teach them how to teach roundabouts and how to teach this. Well, no. The whole idea of Part 3 is you transfer the knowledge you learned in Part 1 and the skill that you can do in Part 2, and you learn in Part 3 how to develop that. And again, much of it is about asking questions. Of course, in order to come on a trainee license, A driving instructor needs a car, they need livery, they need marketing, they need pupils, they need insurance, they need dual controls in their vehicle, they need a whole host of expensive things, etc. And therefore, and also they need to be sponsored by a driving school or a trainer, etc. And all this comes at a cost. So the trainee license allows them to do this. So yes, it does involve a franchise fee for nearly always, etc. It does involve costs, etc. But, you know, certainly as a school ourselves, we have yet to see anybody fail at this. They've all gone on with the businesses. I know this is a worry for some people. What if I don't? But you will, you know, we get you through, etc., etc. There. I actually believe as well that many trainees, certainly the trainees I've trained, are very often better qualified than many of the ADIs out there. Particularly those, for example, recent thing I saw where they actually admitted they've never actually read the highway code since passing their driving test and they don't use it. When you hear ADIs, you talk about, I don't give a monkeys about people's motivations or why they want to learn to drive. I just teach them to drive. That's all I do. And when you hear many of the insulting things that they're saying to all their learners, you realise there. I would be horrified, in fact, hand on heart, know that none of my PDIs or none of the people in our school would be like that, etc., because my trainers develop good, solid, great driving instructors. Well, there we go. Just a little bit, really, my views on the trainee license scheme, etc. And what I'm trying to stress is that I do honestly believe, and I know it may seem like I'm blowing my own trumpet, but this is my specialist chosen subject, etc. I am an authoritative figure on this. From many ranks. Anybody who really wants to really go into it, go to my website, drivingschool.dave.co.uk, look at my CV, you know, etc. There we go. Happy teaching. If you're on a pink license, happy pink license. It is just the first step towards a wonderful future. Speak to you soon then.